Welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm your host, Eitan Berger. Naftali Kalfa was born in Toronto, Canada. Music has always been in his soul, and from a very young age, he would sing in his synagogue choir and for community events. Naftali's musical talent and inclination comes from his mother, who is a talented singer and musician, playing both the flute and guitar. His latest project, which has been 2 years in the making, features some of the most established and well-known names in the Jewish music industry. Incorporating both Hebrew and English, the Naftali Kalfa project double album sees traditional Jewish verses combined with original lyrics.
Avinu malkenu chatanu lefanecha Avinu malkenu chatanu lefanecha.
Everybody has passions in life. Everyone has things that they're drawn to. And for me, other than business and supporting my family, the thing that sort of touches my neshama, that touches my soul, is music. So it's something that I'm naturally drawn to. And then sometimes you wake up in the morning and you actually pursue your dreams and you pursue your passions. And that's how this musical production was born. The Naftali Kalfa project was actually the second album I put out. The first album I put out about 5 years ago with the Piamenta brothers, Yossi and Avi Piamenta, an album called Yul Ratzon, which was more of a rock and roll Jewish music. And, after I put out that album, I sort of took a breather from making music for a while. And then I started again. And I started composing songs and recording songs. And at first I thought I would just record a few songs just for the fun of it. Then I said, okay, maybe I'll get to 10 songs and put it on an album. But then there kept on being one more song that had to be added to the project and one more song. And if we already have these 14 songs, let's just add the 15th and the 16th. And we ended up with a 28 song double album. A lot of them were my friends before I started making this project. People like Shlomo Katz and Gad Elbaz. These were people that were friends of mine before I started making this project. So it was a natural fit for me to call them into the studio once I had songs composed. There were other singers where I would compose a song and then I sort of heard their voice in that song where I felt, that they can connect to that song and, it would fit like a glove, so to speak. So we'd call them in, and a lot of friendships were developed in that studio in Amit Supersonic Studios in Jerusalem. There were a lot of friendships that were developed over there, a lot of great times, a lot of great memories, and everyone sort of has their own shitat avodah, as we say in Hebrew. Everyone has their own methodology of how they go about making music, whether it's the musicians themselves or the singers, just watching the way they work in the studio, seeing what their process is and learning from their process is something, that I was able to take something from everyone and to learn something from everyone.
What's happening, world? Sean Poe. We on the set of my latest video. It's called Bridges. Very powerful record. Talking about life and just the obstacles and challenges that we all face. Co-written by my homeboy, my partner, Naftali. We made this record, when I met Naftali, and we was both going through our respective difficulties. And, usually that's when you know who your friends are, and you get to see the truth of life.
Shine, he has an interesting story. He's someone that, being in the studio with him, watching his method of making music was also eye-opening. I had never seen something like that before in terms of just poetic genius, someone sitting there being able to write lines. As he can write poetry quicker than I could, read books of poetry. So that was really something to see. And out of that came a friendship. Out of that came a few musical tracks that that inspire me, that talk to me, that speak to me.
This whole world, the whole wide world is just a narrow bridge. This whole world, the whole wide world is just a narrow bridge. The main stage we gotta face is in the world above. The main stage we gotta face is in the world to come. And the main thing is to have no fear. And the main thing is to have no fear at all.
One of them actually was something that I composed for my wife, a song called Bridges. It's actually a video that was directed by a very talented Israeli film director, Eldad Eilat. Really good guy. Anyways, it was a very unique video production, a lot of animation and stuff like that. That was a song that I composed. I was sitting with my wife one night. I had my guitar in my hands, and she was expressing, you know, we were in Israel at the time, and she was expressing, you know, reservations, not about us being in Israel, me and her, but in terms of, you know, did we put our kids into an area that's not safe? So I happened to have my guitar in my hand at the time, and I started just strumming to Kol ha'olam kulo geshet tzar ma'od va'ikra lo lefachet klal, which means, you know, this whole world is just a narrow bridge, and the main thing is to have no fear at all. Now, obviously, when we say have no fear at all, we're not talking about yirat shamayim or fear of God, because we should have yirat shamayim, we should have fear of God. We're talking about realizing that God is the one that controls the world and runs the world, and we shouldn't have fear of the things around us. You know, to be mekabel ol malchut shamayim, to sort of accept the yoke of Hashem every morning, which is what we're supposed to do when we say Shema. When we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, we're supposed to accept the fact that, you know, Hashem runs the world. And, you know, the message of the song Bridges, for me at least, was, you know, there is one Hashem. He runs the entire world. We have to do our part to follow what we understand He wants us to be doing, but that ultimately is not going to decide the outcome. He's going to decide the outcome.
The inspiration for his album, the Naftali Kalfa Project, is mostly rooted in Jewish psalms and prayers. Naftali believes that when he sings or composes, his connection to Hashem, God, becomes greater, moving and touching him in ways that make him realize the importance of the role God plays in his music and everyday life.
על הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבורות ועל התשורות, על הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבורות,
על הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבורות ועל התשורות, על הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבורות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם, בזמן הזה שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם.
All the songs have messages or have, you know, are meant to inspire a certain emotion. So, you know, the Purim song I just put out, for example, that, you know, that's meant to just be a happy, upbeat song. And every word there is important. It does have a very strong message. You know, talk specifically about miracles, everyday miracles that happen, you know, both the grand miracles that have happened to Klal Yisrael, from Yetziat Mitzrayim, from the Exodus from Egypt, you know, through the Greeks, the Romans, Hanukkah, Purim. So there's the big nisim, the big miracles that we all know about. But there's also the day-to-day miracles that, you know, we take for granted sometimes. You know, the fact that the ground grows, you know, grows vegetables and fruit. The fact that we're able to breathe. The fact that we wake up in the morning. When we say Moda Ani Lefanecha every morning, how many people sort of really, and I speak for myself as well, it's a struggle to actually internalize it and realize that, you know, thank you Hashem for actually returning my soul to me. You know, so that was the deep message of that Purim song, but it was still just a fun, upbeat, song. One of my favorite tracks on the entire album is a song called Tzion with Shlomo Katz. And that's sort of a very meragesh. It's really soulful, really touches my neshama, and it's about Eretz Yisrael and the beauty of the land and our yearning and desire, for Eretz Yisrael. So there's a whole mixture of different types of songs, from Tzion to Bridges. Again, Tzion is more of a, people would refer to it as a Kalbach-esque type song, and Bridges is a rock and roll song with a rap in the middle and stuff like that. So you have that, you have Sephardic music, you have some Spanish music, you have a whole range of music. And for me, a lot of people ask me, why are so many of the songs with other singers and stuff like that. There are tracks on there where it's just me alone, but for me, part of what drives me to make music and create music and record music is the human connection, is sort of the achdut, is being able to share that same feeling, that same emotion, that same inspiration with somebody else. And when I record something with a fellow artist, it sort of brings that chibur, brings that connection, full circle for me. The musical message is the fact that music has the ability not to change the world. I don't think any song is going to change the entire world, but music has the ability to change a person for a period of time. You can hear a song and be inspired to do good. You can be inspired, if I hear songs that really touch my soul, that really touch my neshama, it might inspire me to go do something special that I wouldn't have done otherwise. If someone's having a really bad day, sometimes they can just put up a really nice upbeat song and get chizuk, get strength from it. So I think music has the ability to move people and touch them and really get the places where no amount of words could do. Sometimes you could sit with someone for 10 hours and speak to them, and whereas if you just sat with them and put your arm around them and sang with them for 3 minutes, that 3 minutes of singing and sort of entering that person's heart and entering that neshama is a lot more powerful than 10 hours worth of words. So music has a special ability. And we'll see one day, God willing, the Beit HaMikdash should be rebuilt soon. The way we serve Hashem in the Beit HaMikdash is with shirah, is with singing. So singing is very powerful. So that's sort of the musical message for me. The overall message is one of achdut and one of unity, where you could sort of have so many different diverse people. The people on this album are anywhere from Mizrahi singers to what would be called Hasidic singers to rappers to what people call Kalbach type of music, and it's a whole mixture, and it's sort of this is on an album, so this is sort of on a micro level. If we had that type of achdut on a wider scale, I think we'd be a lot better off. And again, the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of sinat chinam and because of lack of achdut and lack of unity. We need more achdut. We need more unity. We need to focus more on the common ground of where we have common ground as opposed to where we differ. Sadly, a lot of times it takes tragedies. When tragedies happen, and then all of a sudden, love is free hugs for the world because a tragedy happened. Why do we have to get to tragic moments to have the achdut? Let's have the achdut now. Let's start without the tragedies. There's enough suffering in Klal Yisrael. Let's sort of, I don't want to sound like a hippie from the 60s, but let's sort of put our arms around each other, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya. Let's have that achdut. Let's have the v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, and I think that will definitely speed up bringing Mashiach and having that Beit HaMikdash where we could have the shirah, the singing, as our form of tefillah and avodah.
With the seemingly insurmountable pressures placed on families today, many parents lack the spiritual foundation and practical knowledge to chart a clear-cut course in child rearing. Parents often question whether nurturing their child's souls is even possible in the fast-paced, materialistic culture in which we live. A long-time parenting coach and advisor to young couples and families, Slovie Jungreis Wolff utilizes the insight that springs from her knowledge of Torah wisdom, her personal experiences, and the experiences of those she has counseled. In our new series, Raising a Child with Soul, Slovie teaches us in detail how to approach an entire gamut of issues, with a special emphasis on strengthening children's morality and character.
Many parents spend so much time thinking about where will we send our children to school, and what will the car be like, and what kind of stroller or buggy will we have, and who will the nurse be, and who will the teacher be. But how often do a husband and wife, mother and father sit down and say, how do we develop a child's soul? How do we nurture that neshama, that soul? How do we teach kindness? How do we teach gratitude? How do we raise a child to be unselfish in such a selfish world, where children are given more than we've ever dreamed of, where we take pictures now of ourselves, so we're only focused on ourselves. And there's such tremendous disrespect and chutzpah and unhappiness and anger in homes. How do we do that? Torah is our GPS for life. And in my book, Raising a Child with Soul, every chapter touches on a different aspect of parenting based on Torah's wisdom. Discipline, awe, respect, happiness, gratitude, sibling rivalry, priorities, communication, how to make a sanctuary in your home in miniature. It's all there. Parents today do not have to be helpless. That's the truth. We just have to know how to involve ourselves, and we have to know how to access the wisdom of Torah, and that's where we fall short. We go to all different types of books except our own, and that's the tragedy. The first thing a parent must really do is believe in oneself. You know, if you're sure and confident in what you believe in, then your child looks at you with respect. But if you're wavering and they know that if they just keep crying or whining or begging, they will get you, that's when you have lost the battle. Because that child knows, if I just push a little bit more, mommy will give in. And what happens is, inside, a mother or father is very frustrated. So you keep giving, and inside you get a little bit resentful until suddenly, I call it the rain cloud effect, the cloud bursts, and you have a terrible, terrible situation where you have a parent who starts screaming at a child, out of control, and then we say things that we don't mean. We mean things that we don't say, and we don't have a handle on our discipline. And discipline is really the key to raising a child with soul. Now, discipline does not mean that you have to be mean. Discipline does not mean that you wait for misbehavior. Discipline comes from the word disciple. I'm creating a disciple. My child is my student. And I'm giving this child roots. I'm giving this child strength of character, resilience, the ability to know that when sometimes the answer is no, it's okay. I can handle it. And then we move on and we go on. And I respect my mom, I respect my dad, because I trust them to know what is best and what's right, and I trust that they listen to me. So even if I don't give in to you, I can acknowledge, I know you want that candy, sweetie, but it's not the time now. We had enough. You don't have to scream, you don't have to fight with the child, you don't have to have a debate. You just know that this child respects you. And every parent should ask, how do I teach respect and create an atmosphere of respect and awe in a home? Torah gives us the key. So first of all, there are certain laws that Torah teaches us. I'll give you a few, and it's all in my book, but I'll give you a few for a taste. A child is never to call a parent by a name. A child never sits in the seat of a parent without first saying, Mom, Daddy, can I sit in your seat? Okay, so there's this respect. A child does not contradict or interrupt a parent, and I have to teach that to my child. You see, if a child is being disrespectful, then I have to ask, am I tolerating this disrespect? Who should teach the child awe and respect if not me? If I let it all go, then I'm not doing my job as a parent. When a child comes into a room and a parent is there and a parent needs help, do you just allow your child to then plop down on a couch and say, I'm starving? And you say, oh, I'm so sorry, supper's coming. Or do you say, sweetie, do you see mommy needs a little bit of help? Come help. So we have to engage our children and we have to teach our children. And we have to be sure that we do not stand for disrespect. We have to be consistent and not give threats all the time that are meaningless, because then also we lose our voice. So I know some parents who say, that's it, you are never going on vacation again. You are never going to this restaurant again. I'm never buying you another gift. Now the child knows that that's not true. So whatever you say does not carry meaning, and the child loses respect for you. Or if you're inconsistent with your discipline, I'll give you an example. If you say to a child, there's no food in your bedroom, and then you see that the child takes a bag of chips and Coca-Cola to the bedroom, and you ignore it, and then one day it's okay, and then the next day you say, how could you do that? But it's confusing. So if you have a rule, be sure that you are consistent about your rule, because if not, then again, a child doesn't know how to respect you, because one day you're sure with your rule, and the next day you look away. You must be consistent as a parent.
Pirkei Avot, or Ethics of Our Fathers, is a compilation of ethical teachings and moral principles which were written by the rabbis of the Mishnaic period. Today, we look at chapter 4, verse 5, which quotes Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi, who said, "One who learns Torah in order to teach is given the opportunity to learn and teach. One who learns in order to do is given the opportunity to learn, teach, observe, and do." That's all we have time for this week's episode of Simcha. Thank you so much for joining us. We love hearing from you, so please find us on Facebook at Spirit Sister Productions and drop us a line. From myself, Eitan Berger, and the whole team here at Simcha, have a great week and goodbye.